Welcome to another episode of the Self-Storage Insight Podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to be joined by Jean-Michael Diei with PropRise. And thank you so much for joining me today, man. Excited about the conversation and to hear a little bit about what you guys are doing in self-storage.
Thanks, Ben. Yeah, so happy to be here and joining and speaking some tech with you. So yeah, I'm really excited to jump into this.
Awesome. So a little bit about PropRise, man. How did you guys kind of get into the self-storage space, and where are you currently at?
Yeah, good question. So yeah, to be frank, like we started self-storage this year in early January, February 2024. Our company PropRise was founded actually in June of 2023. So almost, I guess, exactly a year ago now, with the hopes of using artificial intelligence, AI, to help do data and analytics for the commercial real estate sector. And so we spent some time initially in mobile home parks and providing data for those investors and acquisitions folks. And then earlier this year, we made the decision to expand into self-storage. And that kind of kicked off this new venture that we're at now. And so what we're doing today is that we're helping self-storage developers get a good sense of what opportunities on market, so listed properties that they should go after based on demographics, rental rates, things like that. And so we use AI to help them identify these really interesting opportunities that it would have taken them hours or weeks to even find.
Right, for sure. How much of a crossover have you seen between working originally with developing out for mobile home parks versus the self-storage, like commercial properties?
So there's a little bit of overlap just in terms of like which is great in America, there's a data on every single parcel in the US. There's like hundreds of millions of parcels. So we get to know like, hey, on this parcel, there's a mobile home park, or on this parcel, there's self-storage or multifamily property. And so like that data is great. We have that. But everything else, like getting rental rates, getting certain data points that self-storage investors need, like square feet per capita, how much supply there is in a market. Those are like very unique things tailored to the self-storage industry that we had to build out and find our own.
Right. And how did you kind of come up with those metrics of what you're looking at that are specific? Have you been working with like a couple of developers within self-storage as you've been building out? Because again, you're relatively new to the self-storage space. I was curious how you kind of got started with that plan.
Yeah, so we're pretty new to the self-storage industry. And so the way we did it is that we spent the first month, so January, February, just talking to people in this space. These are brokers, these are acquisitions teams, developers. And we talked to over, I would say like 80 people and had 30-minute conversations with them just to learn more about their process. What do they do? What's their job? How are they incentivized to do their work? And that gave us a good sense of how the self-storage industry works and what data points they need to like do their jobs. And then, so then in April, we ran a quick pilot, a paid pilot. So we had 8 users that were kind of with us for the 2-month period, just kind of honing the product, telling us, hey, I need this, I need that, I need this. And through those iteration processes, we would talk to them at least every week or every 2 weeks. It made us, we were able to create a product that's actually very impactful for developers through that initial kind of beta period.
Right. Awesome. Yeah. And so as far as your background, you had mentioned when we talked the last time, you've been working with AI with other companies and stuff prior to PropRise. How much of that played into what you kind of decided to do with PropRise?
Yeah, good question. So I have over almost like a decade of experience in artificial intelligence. And so, I got my master's degree in AI, deep learning, and I worked at big tech companies doing machine learning and things like that. When we decided to start PropRise, it all was fueled because so my family does real estate, and my dad's also like develops multifamily properties on the side, and I also invest in real estate. And I knew I wanted to do something. I wanted to get out of the big tech world and become an entrepreneur. And so it felt natural to combine AI, my AI experience, with real estate together. And so while we're kind of thinking about what me and my partner should do in terms of real estate technology in this space, we spent, I guess, in June of last year, also talking to people, brokers on both the residential and commercial side. So brokers, appraisers, developers, just learning about what people need, what are the data tools that are out there, what are pain points. And then from those conversations, we slowly honed into data, like very specific data needs for this industry in commercial real estate. And then that's kind of how we started our initial path at PropRise.
Okay. Yeah, that's all. That's awesome. And it's always really nice to see like, new tech coming into the self-storage space. Most of the time when I'm talking to people, it's always like, oh, self-storage is just left behind as far as, out of date. There hasn't been a whole lot of there, previous to probably 2021, 2022, there wasn't a whole lot of tech even available for self-storage. It was very limited. And the competition has just increased so much over the past few years. There's so many other companies now that are bringing tech into self-storage, which is awesome because competition is what gives the consumer or the companies more options. It gives them better deals. And so it's awesome to see other people developing tech in the space for sure. So yeah, that's why I was excited to have a conversation with you on it. And absolutely.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And a little bit on that too is like one reason why we decided to start off in mobile home parks and self-storage and not the big flashy, maybe retail or multifamily was because well, one, there's not too much competition in these industries, but also there's a lot of value to be grabbed by providing users in the space or consumers in the space technology that kind of like raises the bar of innovation. And we felt it was only right to like kind of start there. And it was a good place to get our feet wet, and also like
sure.
provide a lot of like new technology to an industry where there has been underserved for many, many years.
Awesome. Yeah. And so as far as with what you guys are building out, again, a way to locate properties, that sort of thing. What's your target customer look like? Who are you looking to mainly service in the space?
Yeah, so the clients that perform best with us are the ones that they're self-storage developers. And yes, we work with some solo developers, but mainly the ones who are looking to do at least 3+ deals a year, find the most value from PropRise. So what we do is we optimize the way you do deal sourcing. And so if you're constantly on LoopNet or Crexi or talking to brokers and understanding where you should be building, and you're doing this very often, like we can solve that very efficiently. And so we find that the large developers and the medium size are the ones who are doing this more often and feel the pain the most. So I would say those are the types of firms we're looking to work with.
Okay, awesome. And then as far as the demand for this sort of thing, it's amazing how 2020 a bunch of people were like, oh wow, self-storage is a gold mine, and tons of people, like, the interest level in self-storage has just increased over the last few years so much. And then 2023 hit and it was a little bit of a downturn and a bunch of people got, a little bit nervous on where the industry was going. But this year has again proven to be pretty much a rebound year from a very short downturn season of 2023. And occupancies back up. Have you been seeing a lot of people that are still looking to be, continue development in self-storage, or did you see a big drop off from even last year to this year, or what does that look like?
Yeah, I would say out of the conversations we've had, 50% of the developers that we think would be qualified to use our tool are resting on their laurels. They're a little bit, risk averse. And so they're still kind of waiting and to see markets, rise to a level where they're comfortable putting investments into.
Right.
And that could either be on their investment decisions or their investors who are supporting them. And so, but however, with that said, there are very active developers on the market today who are a little bit, yeah, I would say they have the money, they have the funds, and they have competency to take action on opportunities that some may find risky, but no, they have their own advantages that they have internally that they can take advantage on. And so, yes, there's a ton of developers out there that are still developing self-storage and are very excited and are ramping up nationwide. However, yeah, I will say like it's I'm sure in 2 years ago it was a whole different story. There was maybe triple the amount of developers that were
Right.
looking for land.
Yeah, it adjusted back and forth pretty quick. But I mean, again, a lot of that credit to, the how fast the interest rates went up. We went from, in the 2s to in the 7s over about an 18-month period. And it really set everybody back, even when they were planning to develop. If you're borrowing money traditionally, it got super expensive and didn't make as much sense. So a lot of the people that I've talked to that are still, finding a lot of good deals and they're doing stuff successfully have been like syndications, and they're pulling money from different. You got to get a little more creative with financing when it's 9% to borrow it, so, but as far as my experience as well, deals are still out there to be had. It just takes a little more work to find them, and which is where your tool comes in perfectly. It seems like, as far as utilizing AI and kind of taking off some of that workload of looking for properties and that sort of thing. So as far as if somebody uses your software and they're looking to locate a property, how does that work can they search the US? Do they search a certain territory of the US? How do you kind of manage that?
Yeah, very good question. So yeah, the firms we work with are some look nationwide across the whole nation and all the different states, and some are focused on maybe just the West Coast, California, Washington, Oregon. And so yeah, our data supports we have over 45,000 self-storage data we're collecting rental rates on, as well as we're getting listing information. So we have hundreds of thousands of listings on our platform, so folks can search intelligently across those listings with self-storage metrics. And so yeah, we span the whole nation, and so whatever region you're interested in, or if there's a focus in a certain region, East Coast, Midwest, Sun Belt, we got you covered. So we're very flexible with how we work with folks.
Right. Are you doing anything on like the the street rate pricing things? Is anybody using your database yet as far as to look at, what all the competitors are charging in their area and adjusting rates accordingly? Or do you have any plans to build anything out like that, or are you going to kind of stay out of that space?
Yeah, so I guess that would be in terms of like revenue management, where they're trying to optimize or their current assets under management. At the moment, we're staying away from that. While we can do something like that, I think we're focused on just providing the data, doing the analytics, and helping source more deals. That seems to be the core focus of PropRise at the moment. That's not something we've thought about too deeply, but I think that's kind of where we see ourselves, kind of as like the first pass or getting the deals, and not necessarily doing the the management side of the equation yet.
Right. For sure. Awesome. Yeah. I guess one of the questions I was going to ask too was going to be like, what has been your biggest takeaway from coming from big tech, working with big companies, and then kind of moving in, starting your own company in self-storage? Like, how does the self-storage space kind of look compared to what you were used to seeing before?
Yeah, very good question. Well, so one, in big tech companies, like there is, I would say, a lot of hunger to acquire or get new data or technology at firms or at companies, because they're always trying to like improve, and they know new technology can help them get that extra leverage to improve their business and their revenues. And so we would always have, when I worked at big tech, always like have other vendors that would be constantly pitching us, and we would explore their tools to help us as engineers do our jobs better. I would say in the real estate sector and maybe even self-storage, there's a little bit of aversion. Folks are, they need to know what the ROI is on a tool, which makes sense. And so they would only pay for something that actually has a big impact on their bottom line and actually has real use, and you need to prove that it has real use. And so for us, we can't just make like, hey, we know like this will do XYZ for you, like pitch them a vision. They need concrete facts for them to trust and believe that your tool actually works. So that's been a bit of a change for us. Big tech, lots of experimentation and trying new things. In this case, it's like safety first, make sure it works before we invest more into your tool.
Right. It's really funny that you bring that up, because with my company too, we do property management as far as the software. And one of the biggest things that we run into is we'll demo somebody and they'll be like, oh, wow, that looks good. Like, we can support your facility. It does all the things that they need it to do. And then it's always like, I'd like to contact a couple of your customers first and make sure that everything checks out. Again, we're a relatively new company, so we don't have the clout of some of these other, some of our competitors. And I was just like, man, in the other spaces that I've worked, nobody would ever let you contact their customers and be like, oh yeah, go ahead and grill our customer. Like, I'm not going to give away my customers' data. So that whole mindset of like passing customers' information along to leads to see if they want to see if it checks all the boxes. That's been one of the things that we've run into. And I'm sure, I don't know if you're running into the same type of thing, but there's a different mindset around tech and storage. And I think that the industry is still really leery of adapting other strategies and of utilizing tech to its fullest.
Yeah, I fully agree. Which is not a problem. I think it's great to be safe, especially when you're making, for us, we're trying to help them find more deals. And so if they're making big investment decisions, $1 million decisions, then we should help them as much as possible, but make sure our data is accurate and right for them. And so for us, it's natural that they have a little bit of hesitation because we're new, no reputation. And so, yeah, they do ask us about like, who are your current clients? How many clients do you currently have? How successful are they? And that helps them build some confidence. But yeah, so there's different ways that we can approach this on the sales side. But essentially, the bottom of the day here is just we have to prove that we need social proof, we need credibility, we need testimonials from clients to showcase that our tool actually works and is beneficial. And
Right.
that's just how we're gonna have to operate in this industry.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, as with any startup, it's always adapting, changing, figuring out what people actually want. Cause at the end of the day, man, you write up a business plan and you start moving forward with it and you're like, well, these assumptions were all wrong. So
Exactly.
throw that out, start over, and then figure out, yeah, like what do the people actually want? Cause if we're not building something that the customers want or the companies want, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter how cool it is. If they can't use it and find value in it, we're just all wasting our time. But yeah, it's fun, man. I enjoy the challenge. And yeah, as far as you left big tech to work on the entrepreneurial side. So, you see that as well. I mean, it's a challenge every day. It's not like you wake up to a stable job and you just go do your 9 to 5 thing. It's a different life, and it's awesome though. It's rewarding and it's frustrating all at the same time.
Yeah, it's very painful, but it's fun. I think of it as a game. There's always going to be challenges and things to overcome. I'm obsessed with video games and I treat it as such. Of course, we want to win, but whatever it takes to win is how we're going to do it. So yeah, that means adapting to the circumstances and making sure our customers are extremely happy. So then like they can spread through word of mouth. Was also one thing that I've actually noticed in self-storage. Like this community is very like familiar. It's like a big family. And so many people know each other, and getting into those kind of networks is like invaluable. And so that's why we're attending conferences, meeting people in person, constantly communicating with folks, even our current customers every couple of weeks, just to stay in touch and stay top of mind, because we want to help them. And if we help them, they help us. And we know this is the great way we could be successful in this industry.
Yeah, it's a very tight knit community. It is a lot different than a lot of other spaces for sure. Let me ask you this, I guess, and maybe we'll kind of just end it with this question, or unless you have something else that you wanted to discuss about your specific, what you're doing specifically, would be like, how have you seen, with a decade of experience in AI and working with AI, how have you seen it kind of transition or grow or adapt, or like the way that AI has changed from when it was first introduced, 12, 15 years ago, as far as my memory of it? I'm sure it was going on far beyond that. But how have you seen it since you've been working with it transition to where you can use it for so much other stuff now, and it's so much more usable? It's come a long way. I was just kind of curious what your journey of AI has looked like and where you see the industry going.
Yeah, it's been incredible. So AI actually, maybe you don't know this, but AI has been around for since the 80s, 1980s. So the ground technology or the math behind what AI is started back in the 80s, and it only kicked back up. So these are neural networks, and they only kicked back up in, I would say 2012, because of NVIDIA. Maybe everyone knows what NVIDIA is now, but they had these powerful GPUs that were able to enable mathematical processes to be operating very fast, very efficiently. And so with that, now you have these very large models that are able to, consume a lot of data, be more intelligent, and output responses to you very quickly. Some folks here may have known, like ChatGPT came out maybe a year and a half ago or so, and it's able to respond to you really quickly. Maybe 5 years ago, it would have responded like every 10 seconds would be a word. So the GPUs have been incredible in terms of how AI has been progressing. It's a linear, they're both coupled. The better the GPU, the better AI will be. That's just how it's going to go. And so, AI initially was, I would say 2015 or so, was very narrow. So you'd have chess AI game, or AI that was really great at playing chess. Or we have self-driving cars, which are really good at learning how to understand the roads and watch out for pedestrians. And now in San Francisco, you're able to see driving cars all around. And now with large language models, which is what ChatGPT is, and other things like this, it can be more adaptable to almost any circumstance. It could write your resume, it could write your emails, it could we use it internally to take unstructured data and turn it into very structured data. And so it's able to do so many more things just because it has the power now. And so it's been incredible to see how the rise of, I guess, data and also computer processes have been enabling AI to help everyday persons in their life. So it's been awesome to see.
It is. And I mean, Again, I didn't follow it a whole lot when it initially, well, again, to me initially around 2012, 20 to 15, that range, I didn't have a whole lot of use for it yet, but it is so usable now. I mean, like internally in our company, we do sales training. A lot of our sales training now, if we bring on a new employee, they're pretty much trained by AI. We've done AI training courses where, you have to get a certain score in order to pass the next test, and you're having a conversation with AI. So the AI bot that we have, like if for telemarketing, for example, we have a telemarketing company that does sale lead generation. And so for somebody to start calling for us, they have to be able to have conversations with business owners that are AI business owners and be able to, rebuttal objections. And so like it's advanced a lot. And I mean, you just plug in whatever information you want into it and it evaluates it, but it responds very quickly. So it's not like you're sitting there waiting on an answer anymore. I mean, you're almost having a real-time conversation at this point, and it's awesome. So, there's a lot of uses for it that, I think that we haven't even discovered what all we're going to use it for yet. And I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to play into self-storage. I know, and talking with some call centers and stuff, they're using it for, evaluating the calls, and you can evaluate the performance of the calls. We did some of that with demos and things like that as well. So you get a lot of good feedback whenever you're just looking at analytical data at the speed that it can. Cause obviously for somebody to sit there and look through it, you could never be nearly as efficient as the computer can. So
exactly.
It's been awesome though. I mean, I really just started messing with it probably in the last 2 years, as far as, realizing that like, the future is going that way. We are going to have to adapt and figure out how to use it and how to make some money off of it in the process. So we'll see what all we can come up with, but it's cool.
It's exciting for businesses. Like you mentioned, like so many different business use cases that could help your team, help the efficiency of the company. And so how we're using it just helps us also just write programs, write code. And so we don't need a third software engineer. We can just have two, and they can be more efficient than a team of 10, for example.
Right.
And so it's remarkable how efficient we can be. And it's great for startups. It's great for businesses. It's awesome. So I just wonder where we're going to be in like 5 years. It's going to be like a completely whole new world.
Right. It's funny that you mentioned with the development side, because one of my senior developers, I was having a conversation with him last May, I think it was. We were getting ready to build some new features and stuff. And I was like, hey, what are your thoughts on this and using AI to generate? And he's like, well, it's okay for like basic code functions. He's like, I wouldn't trust it to do anything complex at this point. Like it's very basic, it's beginner level stuff. And we just talked the other day and he's like, well, it's come a long way, So
yeah. Like 18 months ago, not really there. And now it's like, okay, this is like essential to like, as a coder, as a programmer, you need this.
Right.
It's incredible how fast it's adapting, advancing, and it's really great.
For sure. Yeah. The tech stuff's always interesting to me, and I always love talking about it. Is there, as far as with your company then, if somebody's looking to get in touch with you, what's the best way to reach out to have a conversation with you guys?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me directly. My email is jmd@proprise.io. You can also feel free to visit our website at proprise.io. You can take a quick look about what we do. Essentially, we're looking for self-storage developers who are doing at least 3 deals a year, who are frustrated with finding deals. We help you deal source using AI, and so please check us out.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Self Storage Insight Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Just a quick reminder, this episode was brought to you by CC Storage. CC Storage is a no-cost property management software that allows you to pass the fees for credit card processing on to your tenants, freeing up some CapEx space for your business and helping you more efficiently run your storage facility. If you'd like to learn more about CC Storage, click the link in the description below, and we hope to see you again for our next episode.